Welcome back, folks. I am Jon Najarian, and this is today's 3 at 3. It is the first trading day of June 2021, and we welcome you back from a day off yesterday to recognize the men and women who in many cases made enormous sacrifice, but in all cases, we appreciate your service and thank you. Let's get started with the presentation, which kicks off with our disclaimer, which says that this is not to be taken as investment advice. Instead, this is informational and educational only. And our intellectual property rights, we have registered marks, trademarks, copyrights, and patents on almost everything you're about to see. So you can feel free to share it with your friends, but if you'd like to make a public presentation, we ask that you ask us first. Thank you. Mike Santoli on the halftime report was talking about volumes picking up in options again, and he is right. As you see, going into the end of May, the 24th, 25th, we were pretty low, 31 million, 29 million-ish sort of numbers. And then we start jumping up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week, moving to 38 and then 42 million contracts. So I just show you this from the Options Clearing Corp website that kind of details how right Michael was about an increase in leveraged trades, which of course, that's what options are. Last week, Friday, I talked about Nucor for unusual option activity. Again, the people who were buying, we never really know, but when they're buying a lot, we can generally surmise that it's a hedge fund or somebody pretty big, not only that has deeper pockets than most of us, but also might have better information. And so we talked about that they were buying October calls. Well, they didn't have to wait very long because last Friday, the stock was 101 and they were buying 500,000 share equivalent, 500,000 block purchase of those October 110s. And then it moved all the way up to here today, where we moved up to and through 110. So that's a pretty nice little move. And we certainly enjoyed the ride so far. I've already rolled up once. My intention is to roll up again. So I rolled up to the 105s from the 101s, from the 100 level. And now I'm about to roll up to the 110s. Bang. Also wanted to give you a quick insight into Zoom. There was the IPO in 2019 to the far left side of the page, where that day it traded up to about $52 or maybe even $60. I can't remember for sure. But as you know, during the pandemic, this one just took off and traded all the way to about $570 a share. It's come off pretty dramatically from that level, and many of us refer to Zoom fatigue as one of the reasons for that. The other is, of course, as we go back into offices, is there going to be as much of a reason? Now, obviously, none of us know the answer yet, but I would say that in all likelihood, Zoom will survive, but it might be a lot like, I don't want to say Xerox, because that's a company that kind of, really fell off the radar completely. But Kleenex, Xerox, toilet paper, there are things that we love and that we must use, many of us. But in the case of both Kleenex and Xerox, we know that they are not the biggest thing even in their own space anymore. And so I just kind of caution you that Zoom really needs to hold on to an awful lot of its adoptees and needs to convert them over into pay, because I think there will be fewer and fewer folks that'll be doing Zoom. Now let's also talk about Sabre, a stock that we've had multiple hits for, unusual option activity. Today it was up 5% on the halftime report, and we got to mention some of the things going on with opening plays and things when it was my turn. And Sabre is certainly one of those plays. We've owned it since it was single digits. Here is unusual activity today from Sabre, but I'm not counting this as one of the 3 at 3. Nonetheless, 12,000 of those June 15 calls. These are calls, of course, that are out there 3 weeks into the future. They expire, and the stock was 1436 at that time. I encourage you strongly to register before it is not sold out, because it is complimentary, completely free. But tomorrow I'll be on with AJ Monty, and we will be talking about 30 stocks in 60 minutes. And we'll probably end up covering 30 stocks in 30 minutes, because we'll have a lot of other stuff to talk about. But we'll keep it to an hour. We won't abuse your time. But if you want to participate in this, I would strongly encourage you to register now, because AJ and I are looking to not so much break the internet like Kim Kardashian, but we might break the number of folks that can actually get into this one, which is limited right now to about 10,000. So if you'd like to be one of those 10,000 and see it live, then you need to register at Market Rebellion. If you don't mind watching it after the fact, we will post it up to our YouTube account as well. But go to Market Rebellion right now, register, and then you'd be able to decide tomorrow that you can make it. Obviously, not all 10,000 that register will make it, but an awful lot of you will. Let's talk about this one, MVIS. Bullish call buying. The stock was $18.16. They bought 4,200 of these June 17 calls and paid 75 cents. So fairly big trade, 420,000 share equivalent, because every option's for 100 shares. I'm also pointing it out because it's an in-the-money call purchase. Stock was 18.16, and they started buying the June 17s at 75 cents. Now, you can bet that they weren't able to lock in 50 cents worth of profit that quickly. So what was probably happening was, when the stock was $17 and some odd cents, they started paying 75 cents. As the stock and as these calls moved deeper into the money, they paid up to $1.50, which would mean $18.50 for the stock. 17 plus that $1.50 would be approximately $18.50. So you get the idea. Bullish call buying. Stock was 18.16. There is where the stock is now, as you see, 17.51. So those calls are 50 cents in the money now, not $1.16 in the money like they were on that slide. Nonetheless, like it, Microvision, electronic production company, and volume here already 14.8 million shares versus 12.7 million average over the last 10 days. So a lot of interest in this stock. A lot of interest in this too. Our YouTube channel. Encourage you to go check it out, youtube.com, and then type in Market Rebellion. When you do that, you'll have the opportunity to click on subscribe. It is free. It costs you nothing. So I'd strongly advise you to do that. As you can see, an awful lot of folks have. We appreciate you guys doing that. And you can also click on the notifications button, so then you'd know every time there's a new Crypto Bite, The Take by Pete, 3 at 3, 60 seconds, and so forth. So go check it out. Type in Market Rebellion to YouTube on the search bar. Let's talk about the VanEck Semiconductor ETF, which is SMH. We saw SMH calls trading very actively, as you can see, pushing up towards 12,000 of those today. That would be 1.2 million share equivalent. And the SMH was about $250.66. They're buying the out-of-the-money calls at the 255 strike 10,000 times. That's a million share equivalent. Again, just add 2 zeros to this because every option is for 100 shares of stock. And here is that particular ETF trading just moments ago at 248.85. If you'd like to learn more about unusual option activity, by all means, go on over to marketrebellion.com/UOA. Just think of unusual option activity, and then you'll remember UOA. And you can sign up for the products right there. A product like Unusual Option Activity Elite gives you multiple trades per day. We also have a service with 1 trade a day or 1 trade a week, depending how active you'd like to be. Again, that's marketrebellion.com/UOA. Now, Exxon Mobile, which I talked about on the halftime report, owning the 60 calls, but they were buying the July 65 calls. So why did I buy the 60s? I like moving the odds into my favor. I'm not asking for an extraordinary move out of the stock here, just saying, you know what? At the money call, own it, sold and out of the money against it. I take down both volatility and time decay exposure by doing that. And there it is. The stock was 60.31. They bought 25,000, which is 2.5 million share equivalent. And we like to follow when somebody buys 2.5 million share equivalent. Believe me, they're right more than they're wrong. And there is the big pop out of Exxon, as you saw from this morning, and holding most of that into the close here. It's $60.45, up 3.5% just moments ago. Every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we do the daily crypto bite. That is CJ, Monty, and I talking about crypto, which is our Doge of the day, and which altcoins as well as Bitcoins we are buying and selling that day. I think you'll find it insightful, good way to kick off your day as far as knowing what's going on in the crypto world. And if you'd like to join the chat room, that costs you $1 for your first month. $1. It's 1st of June today. You could have the whole month of June for $1 and then decide if it's something that benefits you in your crypto trading. Go to marketrebellion.com/try crypto. That's marketrebellion.com/try crypto. And now some questions. Let's get to those. You can direct them to me on Twitter at Jon Najarian. That's at JONNAJARIAN. Main Street is watching, and the handle there is at MainWatchin, CHIN. On a day when Vegas is reopening, why have the casino gambling stocks performed so poorly? With all the good news from the weekend and reopening, there seems to be a disconnect. Well, and while you are right, sir, you may have heard me talk about Las Vegas Sands today. It's not underperforming. In fact, it is higher right now by $1.34, or about 2.33%. Looking at others in the space, I see that Wynn is up 2.8%, MGM up 1.4%, Caesars up 1.9%. Those are all pretty good moves. So I'm not sure which stocks we're talking about. Maybe some of these were down early on today, because I do see that, for instance, Las Vegas Sands opened at 58.59 and then went running to the upside. But I'll note that it closed at 57.75 on Friday. So it was up 75 cents on the opening. But even if your observation was 100% accurate, and I'm not trying to give the gentleman or gentlewoman a hard time for it, but even if this was happening, I would say it would probably be because things are priced in. People are pricing in that Vegas is going to do very well. Nonetheless, I still own it, and I'm selling upside calls against calls that I own. It's just the way I'm playing it. Let's take a look now at, let's see who's trying to call me now, Florida. I'll give them a call in a bit. Sorry, Florida. Notice last week that you and Doug Cole, the CEO of American Battery and Metals, are on the board of a new clean tech SPAC. Could you provide more detail regarding the SPAC, and if there will be any additional ties to ABML? Well, we don't know for sure if there will be additional ties to ABML. ABML is American Battery and Metals. You've heard me say it's one of my largest holdings. I am an advisor to them. I am not on the board, but I am happy that Doug and I are together on a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition company, that was just filed last Friday after things got straightened around with the SEC about warrants, because it wasn't our SPAC, it was all SPACs that the SEC was questioning. But American Battery and Metals recycles lithium batteries. They get paid on both sides, at least for now. They get paid to take the used lithium batteries that are used up and to then repurpose them and put them out with cobalt, nickel, and lithium, among other things, from those batteries. In other words, repurposing it or remanufacturing that battery. Now, if you get paid to take it and you get paid to deliver that black mass to the likes of Tesla or General Motors or Ford, you're in a pretty good position. And I think American Battery and Metals, which has just in the last 2 weeks filed for an uplisting on the NASDAQ, that's why I'm so bullish on it also. I think this stock goes over $5 in the short term and probably between $6 and $8 by year end. Maybe it does a much bigger jump than that. They are opening their factory in, Friendly, Nevada, right next to the Tesla battery factory. And Tesla needs a lot of what these guys produce, of course, because you either have to mine it or get repurposed materials, which is what American Battery and Metals does. Now, is our SPAC going to buy American Battery and Metals? You don't see too many SPACs buying existing companies. You see them being an alternative for IPOs. So I don't know that we would be a buyer, although I do love American Battery and Metals. I think in all likelihood, and it's about to change its name when it uplists to the NASDAQ, to American Battery and Technology Corp. But I think there will be other clean tech companies that we go after that are not public yet. And I am in a quiet period, so I can't talk more about that. MindMed, MNMD. Hi, John. Hope you're having a great weekend, Paul Adcock says, and his handle is at PDANYSEARCA. Hope you had a great weekend. I wanted to check in on MindMed. It's been lackluster lately. Yes, it has. They have just uplisted. MNMD has to the NASDAQ. So it's now a $3.15 stock. I think this one will do better. I know that there's a lot of chatter about psychedelics, and these guys are not a dispensary play, folks. These are only things that are given to people that have PTSD, trying to get off drugs, and the like. So this is under a doctor's supervision, microdosing, and I think that there will be great uptake on this stock, but I don't think that until they have that more information, that there's a lot of drivers right here. So I think a lot of it was just the uplist itself. There's MindMed stock. As you see, it made that nice pop in early May to about $4.80 and has since kind of drifted back down here into the $3.15 area. 30 stocks in 60 minutes with AJ Monty and me, Jon Najarian. Tomorrow, market close. Sign up at marketrebellion.com. Please do it, because when we're filled, it's not sold out because it is free. When we're filled, and you won't be able to get a question asked then. You will have to watch it on the repeat the next day. If you'd like to be able to act on some of the information that we'll be putting out, the likes of Cal-Maine Foods, for instance, which I mentioned today on the halftime report, that's CALM, that might be putting in a double bottom or even a triple bottom, depending how you view it. That stock had a really nice pop when we mentioned it on the halftime report, popped to 37.25, closed last Friday at 34.91. So if you want to see pops like that, you need to be there live with AJ Monty and me tomorrow at the market close, 4 p.m. Eastern. I hope we see you there, and I hope you enjoyed today's presentation of 3 at 3. See you tomorrow, folks.